Okay, so when it comes to 40 plus minutes of a Nintendo Switch presentation, out of everything that we've seen this year and in prior years, this is definitely, for me personally, one of the smallest showcases I've seen put together so far in terms of new, really exciting announcements. There are a couple standout gems that I'm pretty hyped for, but overall, I'm going to set the precedent for this video that whenever it comes to a showcase, and we had the Indie World, that was, 20 minutes of really low expectations. The partner showcase, if you compare it to what we got in February, was very lackluster and missing a lot of headline games in my opinion. No major NSO updates outside of we're getting Tetris in the winter, as also part of a collection, but there is one coming to NSO. That was literally like all that was there for NSO. We did get the release date for Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, which will be out on September 12th, and then we're going to get a physical edition on November 22nd in 2024, in addition to another Fighting Collection game. The Tetris Collection's actually pretty cool. I mean, if you are a hardcore Tetris fan, 40 years of Tetris all kind of thrown together from all the old school stuff, and then they have a current one where I guess you're actually going to be able to switch between the various styles of Tetris over the years. So if you're somebody who has nostalgia for the Tetris franchise and it turns 40, yeah, that's actually a pretty cool collection, and I can see that being higher up on some people's wish list. Goat Simulator 3 is available on Nintendo Switch, which of course is just a silly, comical, have fun and go do whatever game. The Patrick Star game that we've been seeing talked about online is indeed headed to the Nintendo Switch. Fitness Boxing 3, it's probably going to sell pretty well because the other fitness boxing games have, but not really one that I'm interested in. We talked about the My Sims leaks. Those were popping up at retailers, pre-orders available and things. That will of course be out later this year as well. There's some Five Nights at Freddy's spin-off game coming. The Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, I think is how you say it. Haven't really been into Rune Factory games at all, but I will say in general, this trailer looked pretty promising for that game. Looks like it has fun action combat available and a cool art style to boot. So that one actually did definitely catch my eye. Funnily enough, this will be out in 2025. And even though Nintendo mentioned that a lot of these games, or the majority of the presentation, would be on later 2024 titles, we actually had a ton of 2025 titles show up at this thing. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters comes out in March of 2025. And while I have not played these games, I could definitely see if somebody has nostalgia for them, why you would be excited for them to come back. They looked cool enough, cool gameplay style, visual style, and all of that. Dragon Quest III Remake is indeed coming out on November 14th, and of course we can expect Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD to be released like earlier next year, and apparently you actually play these games in the story order of 3, then 1, then 2. So these are ones that, while I don't have nostalgia for the originals, I'm actually very interested in them, and I am excited to see a little bit more of a snippet and a look at it at this presentation. And probably the biggest win for me personally, and the game that I will be picking up later today, is none other than Castlevania Dominus Collection, because yeah, I'm gonna say right now, the DS era Castlevania games like Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia, if that's how you say the last one, I've never known exactly how to pronounce that. Anyway, these look awesome. DS goodness, Castlevania side-scrolling action adventure platformer, like, the term Metroidvania. If you're a fan of those style games, you probably need to check these out, and they definitely have large fan following behind them. That's literally out as like a shadow drop announcement or later today, so that's very exciting. I cannot wait to pick these up and play through them. And because of the DS being having touchscreen controls behind it, you just never know how those games will or won't make it over, and they definitely do take a little bit of support to get working correctly. But of course, Castlevania games, you're primarily playing with buttons, so nonetheless it was easy enough for Nintendo to move it over. But I'm very hyped for that one. That's honestly probably the biggest standout announcement from this entire presentation. I know we did get that Worms game announced too. That was during a mashup trailer that I wasn't like available for right at that moment. Civilization 7 is actually coming to Nintendo Switch, and that will be out in February 11th, 2025, and the pre-orders are opening now. I am not a Civilization player myself, but I can definitely see the appeal of that one coming over, and we did get a look at that at Gamescom as well. But this is of course going to be coming to the Switch. Tales of Graces F Remastered, which I hear is a very quality Tales game if you are a fan of those over the course of time, and that is getting released on the Nintendo Switch as well. It will be out January 17th, 2025. Lego Horizon Adventure was in the mashup trailer, and we just know that that's a holiday 2024 game, no commitment to an exact release date. And then the big show closer announcement was none other than the first Yakuza game coming to Nintendo Switch. So, know, I have not really put too much time into the Yakuza games myself, but I will say that I can see the appeal of them. It might be worth checking out when it ultimately releases in October, but this was not necessarily the show closer that I thought we would get. I actually very much thought we were going to see something Call of Duty revealed, which wouldn't have been that much more hype for me personally, to be fair. But it was kind of a surprising announcement that this was the show closer for the event. The Call of Duty Brazil account, I guess with the official ones, was following a bunch of Nintendo fans yesterday and replying like with eye emojis and signifying them, yeah, we're probably going to get something Call of Duty released on the Switch this year. Not the case, at least it wasn't here at this presentation, if it is being worked on right now. So I guess the official Call of Duty account over in Brazil is trolling people online. Nonetheless, the Yakuza game looks okay. You know, it's one that I think you can already easily play on other platforms, but nonetheless, if you're a fan of those games and you want them on the Nintendo Switch, that might be a win for you personally. But all of that to say, for me, this was not a big presentation, no big massive announcements that I just can't wait for, other than that Castlevania collection. And there's some other interesting looking games that I will be picking up. Didn't even go through everything that was entirely announced, so you guys can look into that yourself if you want to go through every single announcement. There is some games that slip through the cracks there, especially from the indie world. But I do want to bring it back to my personal belief on why we saw Nintendo actually go ahead with this event when we did, because you have to remember we typically get a September timeframe direct, like in a few weeks. That is not on the table anymore. At least I very much don't believe we're going to see that, because they wouldn't have had a partner showcase presentation if they had their traditional mainline September Nintendo Direct. So clearly Nintendo does not have a lot of first party updates to show us right now in terms of new content, and that takes us back to where we're at in the Switch's life cycle and why it is the most likely thing to see Nintendo clear out the rest of the fall season for that potential reveal of a Switch 2 trailer, a first look at their next gen successor hardware. I do indeed believe that that's what they are doing, and I do indeed believe that that is why we are seeing a much lighter software release schedule, at least from a first party perspective. There was some decent third party stuff, but again, it is a light year in 2024 outside of the Echoes of Wisdom, Brothership, and Super Mario Party Jamboree. And honestly, just the fact that we're getting those after 7.5 full years of the Nintendo Switch being sold and available on the market, it's an impressive thing to see. So I really think that what we know about for 2024 is going to be the rest of the 2024 games. And we're going to see Nintendo start to promote and shift some of those marketing dollars towards their next gen hardware. And probably most likely what I am expecting is the next February Nintendo Direct presentation will indeed have a ton of the new software lineup for the launch window of the next gen console. And that's really when we should expect to hear a lot in the way of new first party Nintendo announcements. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below what you thought of this presentation overall. Are you like me and it really was not to you personally worth that 40 minutes combined with the indie world and the partner direct? And how did you feel about any of the announcements overall? Or am I off on this and you're actually super hyped for a lot of the announcements and you thought that it was just a banger presentation overall? And what, if any, games will you be picking up out of the ones that we saw today? And will it be some shadow dropped ones like the Castlevania collection that I personally will be picking up? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.